Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. I am the host of this series, Let Me Tell You More, and today I'm here to tell you more about Mia. Mia, take it away.
Hi. I'm hoping that today we can discuss art and abstract art and all visual arts, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Now let's get on into the interview. Okay, so my first question is, you tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm a first generation American, but my people, my mother, my father, Mexican, Mexico, Sonora. So for those of you that know, my family is from Mexico.
Do you feel like Mexico or the Mexican influence affected your art, like the way you create it?
Oh, absolutely. I was initially, even though I was born in the States, I was really in Mexico until I was about 5. And I can tell you just the colors. And, in Mexico, it's not like in America where, there's like just beige colors, the homes, the smells, you go to the market and you see vibrant colors in the food, in the carts, and you just walking past homes. And even though the homes may not be huge or, just immaculate big homes, they could just be small little shotgun homes, but people would paint them these vibrant colors. And I always loved that. And in some of my paintings, I actually have always tried to almost duplicate those colors that I seen when I was young. So I definitely feel that that had a huge influence on me, and just my love for not only color, but just how people express themselves.
What state were you in again after you left Mexico? Where did you say you went?
We ended up living in Las Vegas. I'm in Las Vegas right now. And we've went from Arizona, Tucson, Arizona to Vegas. So I was always either in one place or another with my family.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but primarily I've mostly been in Las Vegas most of my life.
Like, who or what was it that made you say, like, artist? That's what I'm gonna do.
It's funny because I don't know. A lot of the artists that I speak with, I think that we all kind of have one thing in common. It's almost like a badge of honor when you can call yourself an artist. I think I was probably in my 20s and I did my third exhibit, and I was working with the Hispanic Museum of Art at that time. And I was exhibiting with other artists from around the world, and some of these guys were so talented. And I remember looking at my pieces and thinking, oh God, almost cringing.
Mhm.
But I think the first time I really called myself artist, and I hate to say this, is when someone else, an art critic, called me an artist. And that's when I was like, okay, I guess I am officially an artist. And it actually took that. It took somebody else to say, hey, she's an artist. Tabitha Chiquette, is an artist. And then I was like, okay, I was comfortable with saying I'm an artist. But for years, I almost felt like I wasn't worthy of that.
So tell me, like, okay, so you grow up, like, so when was the time when you actually did some art? Like, did you do it from babyhood?
All my life. I remember my mom even telling me when I was like 2 and 3 that
Hmm.
she could always find me somewhere in a corner with some type of color. Like she said, she even had her makeup. Like I ruined makeup because I would just grab anything with color and I would just drawing on the floor, on the walls. I don't ever recall a moment in my life when I wasn't drawing something or you know, coloring something. It's always been there for me.
Okay, so like, did you go to school for art or something too?
No, no, I'm self-taught.
Oh,
I've
okay.
studied it. I've tried to master it. I initially started, I would say, with just little acrylic paints. And, this is like a real young age. I think I was maybe 11, 12 when I really started, going from drawing and getting into painting. And then after that, I worked my way up to oils. And it took me about 13 years to really learn about oils, and it's all self-taught. It was just, getting books at the library, studying other people's work, learning different techniques, failing a lot, as I'm still failing. I'm not even close to mastering any of it, but I feel that I've put the time in and I've studied enough of it that even though I'm self-taught, I feel I can express somewhat of what I'm trying to express.
I don't know if it's true because I've never tried it, but I heard that oil is like one of the more difficult like paints to use. Is it really?
It really is for me.
And why is
Yeah,
it so difficult?
because the way it cures.
Uh-huh.
And so essentially, you can't, with an acrylic, if let's say you have acrylic on your palette, it's going to dry in a few minutes and you can paint over it. You
Uh-huh.
can mix the colors and the texture, everything. You can kind of do that within minutes. With oil, it really takes a lot of patience because you can do one stroke and it can completely, if the other color isn't dry,
Uh-huh.
it'll ruin the painting and you're just done with it. You have to redo it
Mhm.
completely over. So oil, it literally, it never really cures, it never really dries. So there's paintings from hundreds of years ago that if the texture is really thick and consistent,
Uh-huh.
it'll crack and it might seem like it's completely dry, but it won't. It still has,
Oh,
yeah, it still has wet texture to it. So
wow.
yeah, it takes so much to really be able to paint something and get that color just right and hope that those colors are going to actually cure in time to put on the next coat.
So what got you into oil painting?
For me, it's the richness of it.
Hmm.
It's I think that it is you can only get the certain colors and the shading and just the texture with oil. You can't I mean, I think this is just me, but you know how sometimes when you see a painting, like let's say from the Renaissance, like Velasquez is one of my favorite painters from 1629, and you can see where his depth, you when you, with his oil paintings, it can create so much depth. So sometimes when you look at those paintings, it looks like it's a world within a world within a world. You know what I mean? So it's
Right,
almost like it's 3D in its own kind of way. And I
right.
always wanted to create that where it's not just something that looks like it's just one dimensional. It's something that almost is third dimensional, where I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but with the shading, the right shading, if you master it, it literally looks like you can go into the painting and just like it just has depth, like you can almost touch the back wall.
Right. I
So
do
yeah.
understand. Yeah,
And
that's
I don't know if acrylic can create that, but that's just my opinion.
so on your Instagram page, like you show a lot of art from other artists. So like you heavily support other artists. And why is it?
Absolutely. Oh God. And I feel that if you have an urge to create and you're actually creating, I admire it to
Hmm.
my core. And for me, I feel that it's the world of us creative artists, writers, musicians. I think we really make the world because, think about what it would be if there were no visual artists, if there were no writers, if there were no, it wouldn't, what would the world consist of? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So I will always support my fellow artists, and I don't care if they support me or not. For me, if it's just brave that it's almost like standing in front of an audience completely naked when you show a painting or when you
Right,
show a piece of work or when you do an interview. It's
right.
this in itself is a huge art.
Mm,
It's art. You have to have an art to be able to speak to people, relate to people, and touch them in that
right.
type of way. So it's like, when I see someone doing that, I can't do nothing but support
Mm,
because, and it's amazing how many artists I've met through this that and some of these people, they've had exhibits, they have, they, what's considered, their value of their art is exponentially worth more than, what someone like me would even be considered, in
Right.
my work. But I don't look at it like that. I think every piece of artwork has value if it has feeling.
So tell me, what would you call your style of art?
Abstract.
Okay. Okay.
Abstract. I want to create something that has never been seen, and I want to create something that has can be felt. I want to invoke emotions in the person seeing my painting. And so for me, it's not about standard form. It really is about what that feeling that you can get from seeing a particular color, or, just whatever it is I'm trying to convey at the moment. But I do consider myself an abstract artist.
What's your favorite piece you've ever made?
So it's called Life, and I made it when I was 16. And the reason it's my favorite piece is because before my mom passed away, she watched me paint it
Mhm.
and she commented on the colors of it. So it's so personal to me that it's just always been my favorite piece. And even though it's crude and it doesn't, have too much form, and to me, it's just my favorite piece. And I don't think it'll ever change.
What's your least favorite piece?
So I have hundreds of them. I think I think out of the 200 some pieces that I've done in my lifetime, I can honestly say that I've maybe like four of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the rest of them, I look at them like, what were you thinking? Yeah.
So is your favorite medium to work with oil paint?
Oil on canvas, that's my favorite.
Okay. Okay. What's your least favorite?
Right now I'm trying to learn how to use pastels,
Uh-huh.
and
You're not liking it?
it reminds me of crayons. And I know people are going to be like, well, you just don't know how to use it. But that's I, I can't work with pastels. Maybe I just ain't built for it.
Tell me a little bit more about your journey. So you were a kid who obviously loved art because you apparently can't remember a time without it. What was teenage you like doing in those years and stuff? You were obviously doing art, but like, what was the progression for you?
Yeah. So, for me, it was always it was like, how some people go to drugs or to escape, or,
Hmm.
a peer group, or, other things like that. For me, my only escape, especially when I was a teenager, was art. It was
Oh, I
painting.
get that.
Yeah, that was the only thing. That was my only, and even to this day, it really is my only escape, that I really it's the only time I really can stop thinking and feel
Hmm.
100% inside of myself. And when I
Right.
was a teenager, of course, I had a really difficult home life. So that was the only thing that really got me through. I don't think I would be alive right now if it wasn't for art. And I can honestly say that.
Wow.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
honestly say that, like 100%. I don't know if I mentioned, but my mom passed away when I was 17,
Hmm.
and it was because of drug abuse, which I think drug abuse is such an underrated disease, because I don't
Hmm.
think it affects everything, and I
Right.
think that it affects especially the children that grow up in that environment. It
Hmm.
just can it affects every aspect of our lives, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that my home life was rough, so I couldn't go to school. I always wanted to go to art school. I always wanted to participate in school, and learn art, and learn technique and learn skill, but it wasn't in the cards for me, because when my mom passed away, I had to take care of me and my sister.
Hmm.
And so that I became an adult, I had to,
Right.
right away. And I didn't, my dad, he wasn't really in my life.
Hmm.
So it was just me. And then at that time, my sister.
Hmm.
And so, It just that's why I really believe that art was is the only thing that saved my life.
Right.
And so, it was I had a very, very, very rough home life. It wasn't, like for me, it was normal for our house to get raided every Friday. They would break down our door. My mom would get taken away in handcuffs. And
Because of
that
the
was,
use of drugs.
yeah. And that was just constant in my life. I never knew where we were going to live. I think in one year, I went to 7 different schools. So by the
Oh,
time I was like in eighth, ninth grade, I just was like, I quit going. I had to make money. I had to help my family. And so, yeah, I mean, I gotta say, my real life started after I had my son, and I was in my 20s, but I never. So yeah, I'm sorry.
oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I never really had a family like that until I had my son. And then after that, I made the family that I always wanted to have. I wanted to have consistency, and art was always in his life because of that, but he ended up becoming a basketball player. So I guess something his dad played classical piano.
Oh, for real?
And yeah, and I was the artist, so it was always, we never had ESPN, CN, none of that was ever on. His dad never knew about sports. It was always art, art, art. And
So
my
how
son,
did he?
yeah, I guess he rebelled. I guess his rebellion was to go so far away from art that it's like, okay, you know what I mean? But he's a total sports fanatic, which me and his dad knew nothing about that. But yeah, it's funny because he was brought up in a house where artists would come, we would exchange paintings, it was always there. His dad was always composing some kind of song.
Oh
And
no,
yeah,
that's
he
cool.
he just
That's
got
super
turned
cool.
off from that. So I guess me and his dad, actually, I'd known my son's father. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I'd known him since I was 9. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So we were together for 27 years. And
Oh,
then it
wow.
just didn't work out. We grew apart or whatever. But yeah, so it's funny because that's all my son ever had around him was artists. And
And he became a basketball fan.
he's like, Mom, a matter of fact, today he won his game. And
Oh,
I was like,
congrats to
oh,
him.
thank you. Yeah, he's got a scholarship, works super hard. Everything an artist, a typical artist is considered, my son is so against that. Like, he's about structure. He's about, spontaneity for him is, just everything has to be in a certain way. And, for artists, most of us, we don't live
We
like
do
that.
not.
It's by the feeling, you know what I
But
mean? And I think it's because me and his dad were always all about alternative. Everything was so alternative for us, and even we pulled him out of regular school and homeschooled him after he got some social skills, and he went back to school on his own. Like, I'm like, okay, you're ready for that. But yeah, I think that was his rebelling, was the opposite. He's like, I
right.
don't want this weird art life. Like, I want to have money in my pocket, Mom. you know There you go.
So let me ask you, if your life was a book, what would it be called?
um Behind the bathroom door,
Ooh, explain why.
because I think that so many secrets and so many things happen in the bathroom. I think
I
that,
think it does. It really
you know,
does.
and I think that you have to open that door to
Mhm.
really, really see what's going on in there.
And sometimes
And
you do not want to open that door.
sometimes you want to keep that door closed.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that that's what it would be, behind the bathroom door.
So, like, what have you done, like, during your, you know, artistic life? What have you done in terms of like career and jobs and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I've worked with quite a few museums. I've had a few showings. I've sold, I would say, a total of maybe 30 paintings, but I've always had to have like a regular job. You almost have to be a good salesman and a good
I
promoter
know, yes.
to be even
Yes.
close to right? It's like
Right.
you can be the best artist, like what's considered the best, and just have
Hmm.
incredible talent.
Yep.
But if you don't know how to market yourself like me, you're gonna have to go out and get a regular 9 to 5 job just to
Yes.
buy paintbrushes.
Yes.
And
Literally.
that's why my passion is to support other artists, because
Right.
I don't think it should be that way, because I really think in a world, if we supported all of our artists,
Hmm.
you know think about what they would create if they didn't have to worry about going to work, if they could just really sit back and afford because we know how
Hmm.
expensive the it just to buy a canvas can set you back.
Hmm.
And I really think that the only way that's going to change is by all of us supporting each other. That way we can all get that shot to really be able to just sit back and think about what we're inspired to create instead of feeling
Exactly.
pushed to
Right.
create. And it really feels like we're in bondage.
It does. It really does.
We can't, it's only, and I really feel like really the wealthy are the only ones that have true freedom,
Hmm.
because, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like we're working for our freedom. I really always say I'm buying my freedom, because when I have to buy a day off just to be able to do what it is that I really would want to do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that leaves us with a lot of empty people.
What do you want people to see when they look at your art? Like, what do you really want it to say to them?
I want them to say genuine.
Mhm. Okay.
I
Yeah.
want them to be able to see a painting and understand that I kept no secrets in that painting.
I always believe that painting specifically is like a conversation. And it's a conversation that you're not just having with an audience, whoever's watching it. It's like a conversation you're having with yourself, but it's like you're also talking to your canvas too. Like whatever you're painting, it's like you're having a conversation with your piece as well. So it's like I always ask this, and it sounds crazy, but what do you think that your pieces would say about you?
I think my pieces would say about me that I am completely distorted, and I am a mess, and I am completely different from one moment to the next. And I am a sensitive being that feels everything. I hope that's what it would say.
What is the best piece of advice that you think you've ever gotten in your life?
Don't be scared.
And now, what is the worst piece of advice that you think you've gotten in your life? Like, I will never listen to you again.
God, I've got a lot of worst piece of advice. I think don't trust people. I've been hearing that all my life.
Oh, you consider that the worst piece of advice?
I really do. I
Oh,
really do.
explain why with that one.
I think it's created such a block with me that I've always, and I even tell my son this, when you meet somebody, find out their motive,
Right.
first. But I think that I've really closed myself off so much that I've never really allowed myself to really get to know people,
Mhm.
because I'm always so untrusting of them
Mhm.
that I'm not looking at it from the right perspective. So I think that that's hindered me in such a way that it's probably made it impossible for me to have real friendships and real relationships, because even the people that I have had in my life, I've always on some level have always mistrusted.
What advice would you give to the people watching this interview? Anybody, artist, anything.
Support your artists, support your community, support your the people around you. That's what I would say. Support the person giving you this interview, support. And it doesn't have to be financial support. Give
Right.
people time, give people energy, because everybody's worth it.
Where can people find you?
Number1arthelper.com.
Okay, everybody go support her. We love her on this channel. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and please subscribe to my channel and go support Mia as well. Thank you so much, and bye guys.
Bye.